And welcome to a new program here on EWTN. I'm Doug Keck, and it's entitled Father Spitzer's Universe. It's basically the intersection between faith and reason, and it's a new program, and you'll look forward to it in the next couple of months. In January, we'll also do a program, and also in February. And hopefully next March, we'll be looking at expanding to actually a weekly program, okay? And, you know, we want to answer your questions about the universe, about faith and science. That's why we've brought Father Spitzer on board from our Orange studio. And you can email us with questions at spitzer'suniverse@ewtn.com. spitzer'suniverse@ewtn.com. Also, this is a high-tech show. Post your questions to Facebook, facebook.com/EWTN online. Also, you can text us at Spitzer 55000, and we'll get that via text message for this program or future programs. Also, you can send us a tweet at twitter.com/EWTN. And of course, don't forget that Father Spitzer's wonderful books and series are all available at the EWTN Religious Catalog website, which is EWTNRC.com. EWTNRC.com. And of course, Christmas is upon us, so it's a great time to pick up those holy reminders. And of course, there's just a plethora of them. Just go to that website, EWTNRC.com. And now I'd like to get ourselves out to our Orange studio and welcome our wonderful host. I'm just a facilitator here. You're actually the host of the program, Father Robert Spitzer. How is Orange County, California? Christ Cathedral, you're there. This is a coast-to-coast faith and reason discussion. Welcome.
Oh, thanks very much, Doug. Oh, the Orange County's beautiful, the weather's beautiful, and of course, you're right, we're here at the Christ Cathedral area. This was formerly the Crystal Cathedral. The Orange Catholic Diocese bought the cathedral and all the property around it, including the building we're in right now, which is our West Coast EWTN studio, a couple of years ago, and they're just bringing it up and making it into a real Catholic facility here, and it's very exciting to be here. I'm with the Magis Institute, and of course right across the hall from me we've got the Augustine Institute and Dynamic Catholic and Papal Missions, and it's a real dynamic place with all kinds of great new, young, very vibrant programs, and so yeah, we're loving it out here, and of course I have no complaints about the weather. In fact, if I did, a hand would come up somewhere in the studio from God and slap me. It's so perfect.
Well, do you like the rain better? Because you've got a place now where there's not a lot of rain. You used to be up in the Northwest there. So which do you prefer, a lot of rain or not so much rain?
Oh, not so much rain, but we need the rain very much now. So, of course, I prefer the rain just until we finish the winter with El Nino, and then we can go back to the sun.
Right. Right, and here we are basically around Thanksgiving when we're putting this show together. Let me ask you a question before we get started. Why is it important, do you think, for us as Catholics and Christians to give thanks to God, especially at this point of the year?
Well, you know, there's an old expression, I never knew a person who was grateful and unhappy. I never knew a person who was ungrateful and happy. And, you know, the whole idea of gratitude stands right at the center of the entirety of not only Christian religious prayer, but of all prayer. You know, of every religion, gratitude stands at the center. People who are grateful know that they've been blessed by God. If they know they've been blessed by God, they take nothing for granted, right? And they know they've been loved by God. And that's the beginning of spiritual life. But people who are ungrateful, people who take things for granted, wind up just resenting life, resenting God for what they don't have. And of course, in the meantime, it undermines their whole spiritual life. And, you know, our most fundamental sacrament, the Eucharist, in Greek, Eucharistein means thanksgiving, right? That's what Jesus did at the Last Supper. He gave thanks. And of course, this is the first move he makes as he offers himself up in the sacrifice that will become the unconditional love that will save the world. So it's so central to everything Christian. And St. Ignatius of Loyola, I'm a Jesuit myself, St. Ignatius of Loyola just puts it at the center of the spiritual exercises, and of course at the center of the contemplation to attain divine love. So really, really important.
Right. Now we're also, basically we've got Thanksgiving, we roll into Advent right away, and then Christmas. How do you see those things connected, or are they connected in your mind?
Well, I think Thanksgiving stands, as I said, at the beginning of the spiritual life, but Advent, of course, is the great anticipation of the incarnation. And, Thanksgiving does roll into Advent in a beautiful way, because, of course, in Advent, we're looking kind of at the world around us, anticipating Christ, but sort of seeing it through the lens of all these readings that display the world before Jesus got here, before the redemption. While the evil spirit may still have been the prince of this world, as Jesus calls him, right? That he's kind of a ruler until Jesus comes and definitively defeats him. So we're anticipating this great event, and of course Christmas is the culmination of everything. It's everything we have to be thankful for, because Jesus' redemption, when he comes into this world, when he gives himself fully to us, and the beginning of it, is celebrated, at his birth, and through his birth, of course, the redemption begins. We are no longer going to be slaves to evil. We're no longer going to be slaves to darkness. We can move out of the darkness through the name of Jesus, through the sacraments of Jesus, through the church of Jesus. And of course, if we do that, we're on our way to the heavenly kingdom, instead of being captured, as it were, by death, by darkness, by evil, and things that, of course, would be out of our control were it not for the Holy Spirit that Jesus gave us, the church that Jesus gave us, his word that he gave us, his example, and his redemptive love that brought us into the world. So thank you, Lord, for that, because that stands at the center of everything we are and will be.
Mm-hmm. Just before we get to one of those questions as well, let me ask you this. A lot of this program, it's Father Spitzer's Universe. We want to talk about faith and reason and the belief in God and the sciences and how we intersect with today's culture. So much of Christmas seems to be subsumed in Black Friday, buying things, and even just the idea that, people start the Christmas season so early. You see things in September, trees going up, and that by the time they get to December 25th, they seem to be exhausted, and all of the Christmas decorations disappear, when in fact that's really the beginning of the Christmas season. How does someone hold on to Advent and then hold on to Christmas without being subsumed by the culture?
By remembering our faith. We'll be discussing a little bit later in this program 4 levels of happiness as a kind of model of evangelization. Well, the kind of materialism and the kind of the hyperactivity with the shopping and the demonstrations of wealth and so forth, all of that is what we'll be winding up calling level 1 happiness and level 2 happiness. If we concentrate on that, we're not going to be truly happy. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we're going to wind up being not only unhappy, but making other people unhappy as well. So we're advocating that people get up to level 3 happiness, which is contributive. That's giving ourselves away, trying to concentrate on our family. And of course, the 4th level of happiness, which is absolutely essential, which is that level of faith, that level of transcendence, that level of orienting ourselves toward the heavenly kingdom that Jesus has given us. That's really, as they say, the reason for the season. And if we don't keep level 3 and level 4 happiness at the forefront of our minds at Christmas, I think Christmas, with all of its materialistic and ego, comparative, dimensions, and of course, Madison Avenue certainly makes that as manifest as possible because it sells things. But at the end of the day, it won't make us happy. As a matter of fact, it will reveal to us we're so much more than material beings. We're so much more than beings destined for pleasure. We're so much more than beings that are just ego comparative. Who's got the better gifts? Who's got the better house? Who cares? What really matters is, what do we do with our lives, our talents, our gifts, our energy? How do we make an optimal positive contribution to family, to friends, to community, to church, to the kingdom of God? How do we relate to God in the best possible way so that we'll be purified in our love, that we'll be purified in our faith, and that we'll be brought to the heavenly kingdom? If we can bring level 3 and level 4 into, the picture as the center, and then let level 1 and 2, the gifts, the hyperactivity, the shopping, and everything else, sort of be on the periphery so that they take their definition from the center, I think it's going to be a much better Christmas. We'll be much happier. The people around us will be much happier, and we'll be living a life that's commensurate with Jesus, whom we want to follow.
And what about that? I mean, you're out in Orange, California, Christ Cathedral, out in California. You've got a governor that's done some things with abortion and euthanasia that are obviously somewhat problematic. There's a sense at this time of the year, many times we hear this, and some people say it's just an issue that's brought up to get people upset. But is there a war, in a sense, on Christmas, in the sense of a true understanding of Christmas? Recently at a mall in New York, they went from having, the Santa Claus displayed to the Ice Palace, and kind of a thing. And it was a pushback against that. Should people be sensitive to watching the kind of the Christ in Christmas being pulled out?
I think it's incredibly important. I mean, when Starbucks went ahead and just said they want to take the Merry Christmas off the cups, when we begin to see, the complete secularization of Christmas, it's also the secularization of the culture. So you've got a real generic secularization going on. It's not just limited to Christmas. Yeah, so we should be really concerned about that. And it's not just going to be secularization in terms of de-Christianizing culture. It's going to be de-religiousizing culture. In other words, every religion is going to suffer as the culture moves progressively toward materialism and ego-comparative satisfaction as the center of its existence. And of course they're going to want to be commensurate with the materialistic ego-comparative philosophy by removing contribution, removing the whole idea of transcendence, not only from Christmas, but certainly removing it from culture itself, not just for Christians, but for every religion. I think what we're facing is something really disastrous. And there's kind of a recent study that came out, from the American Psychiatric Association, which says pretty clearly that people who are non-religiously affiliated, that means people who, in the Pew survey would be called nuns, N-O-N-E-S. They have no religious profession, no real spiritual life, no sense of transcendence, pretty much your materialistic or ego-comparative level 1, level 2 folks. What they show is that these people who are non-religiously affiliated have significantly increased rates of suicide and suicide attempts, significantly increased rates of impulse aggressivity, that is to say, signs of aggression and discontent, incredibly increased, meaninglessness and despondency in their lives, increased substance abuse, increased familial tensions, all because they are not religiously affiliated, all because they blocked out the transcendent, the religious in our lives. St. Augustine told us, "For thou hast made us for thyself, and our hearts are restless until they rest in thee." He was saying a prayer to the Lord in the confessions, and he's proclaiming to God, "I know you've made us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they rest in thee." And of course, when we block that out of our lives, we block religion out of our lives, we block that sense of our desire for perfect truth, love, goodness, beauty, and home, we block out of our lives our need to have that interpersonal relationship with the God who comes, Emmanuel, God with us. If we block it out of our lives, we are alienated, not just from God, we're alienated from ourselves. We're no longer at home here. We can't block out our ultimate home and feel at home even in this world. So we begin to feel things like, a terrific sense of emptiness and alienation, sense of, not being at home here, sense of a deep loneliness within our lives. And of course, that's what precipitates all of the things which the American Psychiatric Association talk about, you know, meaninglessness, despondency, impulse aggressivity, suicide attempts, and suicide successes, and familial tension, substance abuse, etc. So it's it's a real matter of concern, not just for the churches, but certainly for the churches, not just for individual people, though certainly for them, but for the culture itself.
Right, and what we got to do is work harder at moving those nuns to NUNS nuns, like our own here in Mother Angelica and her sisters, and things will get better. We're going to take a break. We're speaking here, of course, with the star of our show, Father Robert Spitzer, and we're going to take a break. Much more ahead. We've got questions coming in. We'll start asking those questions when we come back from the break. Stay with us here on Father Spitzer's Universe. Welcome back to Father Spitzer's Universe. I'm Doug Keck, joined from our studios in Orange County, California, by Father Robert Spitzer. Thank you, Father Spitzer. Quite enlightening in the beginning of our program, talking about what's happening out there in Orange, also the Magis Institute. But this program is really about an opportunity for our audience to get access to someone like yourself, to answer some of the great questions that are out there that aren't answered by standard apologists, things about faith and reason and existence of God. One of the questions that came to us here, and based on your book, and you were talking about it earlier, so it kind of dovetails right into there, is why is happiness so important? Because you were mentioning the levels. This person says, I thought our goal was to be holy, not happy. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, well, I might just start off with the adage of the great Aristotle a long time ago, which became the adage, by the way, of St. Thomas Aquinas. Aristotle said, happiness is the one thing you can choose for itself. Everything else is chosen for the sake of happiness. So what he meant by that is, once you have a definition of happiness in your mind, then of course you start making all of your other decisions according to that definition. Whether you even know it or not, if you have it in the back of your mind or in the forefront of your mind, that definition of happiness is going to determine, you know, what do you think of yourself? Is your life going forward? Is it going backward? Are you making something of yourself? Are you not making? Are you worth something? Are you not worth something? Are you a success? Are you not a success? What kind of friends are you going to make? What kinds of careers you're going to choose? What kind of spouse you're going to choose? Every single decision that we make is for the sake of happiness, said Aristotle, a principle, of course, which St. Thomas Aquinas, you know, abided in and believed. So the one term we got to get straight in the minds of not only our young people, but everyone, is we want to get to the highest levels of happiness that will include, as St. Thomas Aquinas would say, all the dimensions of their being, all the dimensions of their soul. So we want to give them that sense of the highest levels of happiness. So we rank them as level 1, 2, 3, and 4. And by the way, this is in St. Augustine's Confessions as well. St. Augustine uses the Latin terms Laetus for level 1, and Felix for level 2, and Beatus for level 3, and Sublimitas for level 4. But they've got 4 words for happiness. Problem with English is we only have one. Happiness, 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 and happiness. And that makes for a real problem. But getting back to the questioner's notion of holiness, we would call holiness level 4 happiness. So the idea then is, you know, well, don't we want to be holy? Yes, of course we want to be holy. And that is the highest level of happiness. That's level 4 happiness. But remember, we've got to go through this thicket, or this forest, of other views of happiness that are constantly impinging upon not just us, but upon our kids, and heavily impinging on our kids. So they're going to be given a materialistic and pleasure view of happiness, right? Happiness is the maximum number of pleasure impulses per second and the most number of toys I can get. That's level 1. Or level 2 happiness. You know, happiness is ego comparative happiness. Who's achieving more? Who's achieving less? Who's smarter? Who's less smart? Who's got more status, less status, more popular, control, less power, more power, less power, more control, less control. You get the point. You know, the whole thing of ego comparative happiness, 70% of our young people are right at that level of happiness. We got to sort it out for them and get them through that so they can get to contributive happiness, which is the first stage to holiness, where they're learning how to be not only contributive to culture, but contributive to others and to follow Jesus' beatitudes in love, and then finally to get them to level 4, which is that transcendent happiness, their ultimate dignity and destiny, right? That's going to be the one that comes through faith, and that's going to be the one that says holiness is where we want to be. And if we are holy, all the other kinds of happiness will follow, but they will follow in their proper place. They won't get exaggerated out of place so that we forget our transcendent nature, we forget our contributive nature, we forget empathy, we forget prayer, we forget conscience, right? We forget virtue, and all we want to do is just be better than others, more powerful than others, and have more toys than others. So that's the key thing. So happiness is the bigger word. Holiness is the 4th stage, which is the higher word that brings all the other levels of happiness together. Great question.
Let me ask you, Father, just as a follow-up of my own understanding, is it possible for someone to be holy but not happy?
Well, you know, you can be holy and happy in one sense, which, you know, most, you know, of Christian theologians would call that gaude, would call that joy, right? So when you have a spiritual joy, you can feel spiritual joy, right? But you can also at the same time feel like, oh gosh, you know, maybe I'm not happy in another sense, right? So sometimes people are suffering. They're very holy people, and they're suffering. But what we want to do is help people to see how that holiness can bring their suffering into joy. So we give them, for example, the example of Saint Therese of Lisieux, right? And she, of course, suffered hugely, right? Her tuberculosis was not just debilitating, it was downright painful. And of course, yes, did she feel that pain? Yes. Would you call that pain happiness? Not in itself. But what Saint Therese of Lisieux knew through her holiness, her level 4 happiness, is that she could give this all as a gift to the one who had loved her, as she called it, to her beloved. She could give this not only as a gift to him, but she could offer it up for the salvation of the entire world, especially for the souls that have most need of that grace. So she imitated Jesus, who offered his sufferings to the Father for the salvation of the world. She did the very same thing. And so as she's suffering in pain in her last days, she is immensely joy-filled, as Mother Teresa just kind of sprang to life, immensely joy-filled at the very prospect of not only being a gift to her, you know, the one who's loved her, right, the one who, you know, for whom she is the beloved, but also that she can do this efficaciously so that her pain will begin to redeem the world through the grace of God and through the sufferings of Jesus Christ. So yes, she turned it into joy, but you have to know how to do that. So yes, if there is a discrepancy between holiness and happiness, we need to give some education, what I might call a little Therese of Lisieux education, or a little Thomas Aquinas education, or a little St. Peter Faber education, so that we can help people to learn how to bring a true happiness out of the pain that they may be suffering in this world. Because once they leave this world, if they do that, they're going to be happy forever, which is called the Beatific Vision, right? Beatific means, right, beatitude means happiness. The vision of happiness through holiness forever without the possibility of any pain. But another great question.
Right. Now, also, you've got a book, Finding True Happiness, Satisfying Our Restless Hearts by Ignatius, which is available, which a lot of this material is in. And obviously, you write a lot of books, you've done a bunch of series, and you talked a little bit about the Magis Institute at the top of the program and the fact that your offices are actually, what, one floor away from the studio you're at right now, right?
That's right. In fact, we always make the joke I could, build literally a fireman's pole from my office right into this studio and just slide down whenever I need to be on the show. So yes, we're right on top of EWTN's great studio here.
Well, we're ringing the bell out there. It's a tough world, and we need firemen like you to help explain things and take us all to safety. We've got some other questions coming in. Obviously, people watching can see the different ways to reach us. Here's the next one for you, coming from Facebook.
Okay.
Could you explain redemptive suffering and how it can help to the betterment of our universe as we know it? So there's a question about suffering, the redemptive aspect of it, and how that fits into the whole idea of God's universe.
Yeah, there's in the Christian tradition, or directly, literally from the words of Jesus himself, there are three dimensions to redeeming suffering. I mean, suffering will always be ultimately redeemed in the kingdom of heaven, where there will be, all tears will be wiped away, right, in the book of Revelations, or as St. Paul would say it in the letter to the Romans, where the entire creation is going to be brought to its fruition, where there's not going to be any suffering anymore. So let's call that the ultimate redemption of suffering. But there are three other ways in which suffering right now in this world, before the ultimate redemption, can also be redemptive. And Jesus talks about these. The first thing that suffering does is it can shock us out of a superficial and a destructive way of life. So we find, a lot of time, maybe a person has an alcohol addiction, or somebody has, a destructive form of life, and all of a sudden they find themselves, in catastrophe after catastrophe, or maybe the family's breaking up, or something's happening, or maybe they get a physical disease or physical impairment, and all of a sudden it causes them to think, was all this ego comparative happiness, or was all this, materialism, was this real happiness? Is that all there is? In other words, suffering has this incredibly poignant effect, right? It just kind of zeroes us into that question, is this all there is to life? And if we're really answering that question correctly, then of course we're going to see in a heartbeat, there's got to be something more. And God then, honestly, can lead us through suffering right out of a self-destructive path, right out of a superficial path where we're just wasting our lives and wasting our dignity completely, can lead us, or the Holy Spirit can drive a Mack truck full of grace through the holes in our hearts, right? And all of a sudden bring us to a place we never thought of before. Contributive meaning in life, ultimate meaning in life, transcendent meaning in life, religious meaning in life, the Christian meaning of life. We can be led there through precisely suffering from a point of darkness and superficiality. So that's one thing that's very prominent in the Christian tradition about redemption. There are two other strands that are really important. There's a second strand which just talks about the purification of love, so that suffering can actually help us to purify our love. It's like purgation, like what we say in Catholicism about purgatory, right? That the idea is that we can be purged of what we might call inordinate attachments to this world, so that we are seeking first the kingdom, but we're doing it exactly as Jesus describes it in the Beatitudes. So he says, blessed are the poor in spirit. That means the humble-hearted. Let me tell you, without suffering, there's just no way I would be pursuing humble-heartedness. I mean, honest to goodness, I would be just in the darkness of pride. And even St. Paul says this in just a beautiful passage in 2 Corinthians 12, where he says, I was given, a thorn in the flesh, an angel of Satan to beat me, to keep me from getting proud. In other words, he's so scared of humility. And he says, I asked 3 times. That means over and over and over again, right to the point, like 1,000 times, that the Lord relieved me from this. But he chose not to. But I found that in my weakness is my strength. So all of a sudden, Paul is giving us this direction. There are many things far worse than suffering, many things far worse than pain. And what's worse than that? the darkness of sin, the darkness of pride, the darkness of narcissism, the darkness of egocentricity, the darkness of dominating others, the darkness that is so deep that we can't even get ourselves out of our own self-involvement. And then the blessedness of suffering. That, this thorn in the flesh, this angel of Satan to beat me, and all of a sudden, wake up time. I've got this idea that Christ is growing stronger in me through my suffering. He's taking over, and I don't have to be Mr. Arrogant anymore, right? I don't have to be Mr. Narcissist anymore. I can start being gentle-hearted. The call to gentle-heartedness comes oftentimes through suffering. This idea of purification of love, the idea of the call to compassion many times comes through our own suffering.
Right.
We have empathy then for the sufferings of others.
Right.
The call to, to be aware of peace in the world and to be aware of Jesus's ideas of righteousness or holiness frequently comes through suffering. It's not just a wake-up call. Right. It's literally this continuous process of purification. And the third major strand of redemptive suffering in Christianity before ultimate redemption is the one given by Thérèse of Lisieux that we just talked about, that Jesus teaches us that we can offer up our sufferings as he did on the cross to the Father as an act of self-sacrificial love for the redemption of the world. We have no idea the good that can come from our suffering because God's in control of that. God's the one redeeming it. God's the one using it for the redemption of the world. We don't know. You have to be as humble as Thérèse of Lisieux. But what we can do is we can offer that up in complete trust, as Thérèse of Lisieux did, as a self-oblation to God, as literally a gift of love to God. Just offer that pain up so that God will transform it into grace and shower it down upon the world, especially for the souls in most need of his mercy, in purgatory on this earth. And of course, all of these areas of redemptive suffering are like positives. And then where does it all lead? To ultimate redemption of our suffering in the kingdom of heaven. So, I mean, the Christian tradition is so rich. And at the Magis Institute, of course, on the website, we give not only talk about this, but we give all kinds of lessons on how to suffer well, how they can transform, right, their sufferings into real redemption toward love, redemption in faith, redemption toward, as Paul says, escaping from pride and narcissism, redemption of the world through our pain and our grief. All of these things are so rich that we have to teach not only our mature Christians, but especially our younger Christian members, and Catholic members. We got to teach them how to do this well so that they have these things in the forefront of their mind. So instead of wasting their sufferings by complaining or turning inward or rejecting God and the church, they move in precisely the opposite direction, straight into the arms of God through love and holiness. And that's what God is asking us to do as educators within the Catholic Church.
Thank you so much, Father. Of course, you've given us a lot to think about. Obviously, you've thought about this quite a bit. And I always think in terms of redemptive suffering, Mother Angelica, of course, is a perfect example. We're going to take a break. Much more with Father Spitzer with your questions. I'm Doug Keck. Stay with us here on Father Spitzer's Universe. Your questions, much more ahead on this program. Stay with us. Welcome back to Father Spitzer's Universe, our new program here on EWTN, a monthly special. We'll be doing another one in January and February, and hopefully going weekly in the month of March next year. I'm Doug Keck, and the host of the show really is Father Robert Spitzer. And Father Robert Spitzer of the Magis Institute is joining us. We're doing Faith and Reason coast to coast here out at our Christ Cathedral studios in Orange. And I'm Doug Keck here at our studios in Birmingham, Alabama. And we've got another question coming in. Obviously, people can get in touch with us through Twitter and Facebook, and they can even text us. And if you don't get through on today's program, we'll use these questions on our next program. We'll give Father a little more prep so he's prepared. Not that he needs it, of course. So you can email us at spitzer'suniverse@ewtn.com. You can post your questions on our Facebook at facebook.com/EWTN online. You can look for that. And you can also text us at 55000. That's Spitzer 55000 via text message, all this high-tech stuff. You can even Twitter us at twitter.com/EWTN. We'd like to hear from you. That's the idea of this program, the idea to give you access to someone with the remarkable knowledge of the faith that Father Spitzer brings to EWTN, and his resources, of course, are available at EWTNRC.com. Several series he's been doing over the last 15 years with us, and a multitudinous number of books as well, and we'll mention some of those later. But let's, Father Spitzer, let's get back to another question off Facebook. How do we appeal to non-Catholic Christians when it comes to faith and science working together? Many Christians seem to believe that faith and science are mutually exclusive. I assume you don't agree.
No, I don't agree at all. It's a contention that a lot of atheists have been trying to make, that faith and science are even in conflict with one another. And the Magis Institute has really been trying to move beyond that notion by showing all kinds of points of complementarity. So where do faith and science touch one another? One of the key areas that they touch is in the area of a beginning of our universe, or even a beginning of reality itself. And in a lot of our future programs, we're going to be talking about some of these remarkable confluences. There's a proof called the Beatific and Guth proof, which shows not only that our universe has to have a beginning, but also shows that even if there were a multiverse would have a beginning. Even if there was a higher dimensional space universe in string theory, even that would have to have a beginning. Even bouncing universes or oscillating universes that expand and contract and expand and contract, they would even have to have a beginning. So you actually have what's called a space-time geometry proof called the Beatific and Guth proof that actually shows that all of these different universal configurations need a beginning. Now, if you could actually get really close through science to the beginning of physical reality itself, then prior to that beginning, physical reality was nothing. And if you don't sneak something into nothing, right? If you don't try and make nothing empty space, which of course is ridiculous. Empty space is something. You can have more or less of empty space, but you can't have more or less of nothing. So if you don't sneak any, something into nothing, then when physical reality was nothing prior to the beginning, then the only thing it could have done was nothing, because the only thing nothing can do is nothing. And if that were the case, then something else would have had to have moved the entirety of physical reality from nothing to something, because it could not have moved itself from nothing to something, because when it was nothing, the only thing it could do was nothing. So this idea of proving a beginning of physical reality, the idea of proving a beginning of the physical universe is exceedingly important. And the Beatific and Guth proof, three fine physicists, Alan Guth from MIT, Alexander Vilenkin from, he's the director of the Institute of Cosmology at Tufts University in Boston, and Arvind Borda, who's from the University of California, Santa Barbara, Kavli Institute. These three physicists came up with a really important proof. The entropy evidence today, that's another area I can't go into today, but there's another area of establishing not only the beginning of our universe, but the beginning of all of these other hypothetical configurations, and they're completely hypothetical, right? We don't have a scintilla of evidence for multiverse, but nevertheless, you can actually show the beginning of multiverses and other, hypothetical universal configurations. Again, we're getting very close to the idea of a beginning of physical reality itself, and that's very important. There's another huge confluence, between, God, transcendent causation, and the evidence of physics itself. And by the by, you can't disprove God from physics. We'll talk about that in other episodes, but the clearest example of that, is that, hey, look, all science is based on empirical or observational evidence. The only place you're going to get observational evidence is within this universe, and specifically within the event horizon of the universe itself. So it's a very restricted place to get observational data from. Now, how in the world, you tell me, can you disprove a transcendent cause which is completely beyond the universe, completely beyond all physical reality? How are you going to disprove that with evidence from within the universe which science restricts itself to? Answer, you can't. You can't possibly disprove a transcendent cause from, evidence from within the universe itself, any more than a cartoon character can disprove the existence of the cartoonist from evidence from within the cartoon drawn by the cartoonist. It's not possible. So the point is, there are all kinds of wonderful confluences. Oh, the anthropic coincidence, we'll go through those in great detail in additional shows, but they're just wonderful coincidences. These are, an anthropic coincidence is a coincidence where, essentially life is highly, highly improbable. You have to have the constants of the universe and the initial conditions of the universe have to be just in the right place, at the beginning, at the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. You've got to get these conditions, initial conditions and constants exactly right. And if you do, if you don't, then life as we know it becomes impossible. No, not just life as we know it. All life becomes impossible. For example, we have, you need very, very low entropy, and I'll have to explain this in another program, but you need very, very low entropy in order to have life develop in the universe. So you need some energy, your physical systems have to be able to do work, and that means low entropy. So if you have optimal entropy, you're not going to have any work being done by a physical system, and therefore you're not going to have any life. Well, this physicist, Dr. Roger Penrose, actually discovered the odds of having the low entropy of our universe by pure chance at the Big Bang. It's 10 raised to the 10 raised to the 123 to 1 against, and that would be a double exponent. I'll make it real easy. That's the same odds as a monkey typing the entire corpus of Shakespeare by random tapping of the keys in a single try. That's not very likely. And yet that is one of the conditions that has to be in place at the very beginning of the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago, when our universe expanded. Were it not there, life would be impossible. So you're saying to yourself, well, how can this be? We only have two options. You can either postulate a multiverse with 10 to the 10 to the 123 bubble universes in it or something like that, which of course still itself needs fine-tuning, so it doesn't solve the problem, it only moves the problem back one step. Or you postulate the only other reasonable and responsible explanation, and that is a really, really smart, intelligent, transcendent cause that, to put it in the words of Sir Fred Hoyle, monkeyed with the constants of physics and chemistry and biology as well. I consider this, he said, to be beyond the shadow of a doubt. So essentially what we're dealing with is all kinds of confluences, reasons for a beginning of the universe from entropy, reasons for beginning of physical reality from space-time geometry proofs like the Borda-Vilenkin and Guth proofs, reasons for inferring the existence of a highly intelligent creator from anthropic coincidences like the low entropy at the Big Bang and so forth. So there's all kinds of confluences there, but that's just the beginning of the concept, because as the psalmist tells us, right, the heavens proclaim the glory of God, and they not only proclaim it intellectually, they not only proclaim it through the laws of nature in its symmetry and elegance oriented toward life, it proclaims it in beauty, and it proclaims it in love. I mean, to look at the universe, to look at the data of the Hubble telescope, I mean, it's jaw-dropping, literally, and so we're kind of, put into an area of almost mysticism in physics. And by the way, one of the finest, probably the most famous mathematical astronomer who ever lived, Sir Arthur Eddington, put it this way. He said, there are areas of human intellection, areas of the human soul that are completely beyond the domain of science. For example, the whole area of mysticism, the area of art and beauty, and he goes on to articulate these various areas that go beyond science. But then he says, in the end, he says, even science cannot, challenge this warrant. For science itself also proceeds from an anticipation, from a light that beckons us ahead, right? Science itself comes from an intuition which is beyond science. And he says, in the end, the light beckons ahead, and the purpose surging within our nature responds.
Father, we have to move ahead just a second here. So,
sorry.
Because otherwise we're not going to have any more shows. You're going to explain everything in one program here. So we want to try and get some more questions in there for you. So let's go to our next question. Okay, how would one best respond? This is from Facebook, to the claim of an eternal universe that goes through cycles of implosion and explosion. And what does modern science say about this claim, and how does that relate to our belief or a belief in God?
Right. That's the so-called bouncing universe theory, or the so-called oscillating universe theory. Now, this is just a complete hypothesis, right? But the hypothesis, right, because we know that our universe in this expansion is only 13.8 billion years old. One of the hypotheses to make the universe go back further than 13.8 billion years, or even possibly eternally, is called the bouncing universe theory, where it's hypothesized that the universe is expanding, then it's contracting in a big crunch, re-expanding again, exploding and expanding again, recontracting in a big crunch, and supposedly it's been doing this forever. Now, there are many, many different reasons for why this can't be the case. You can't have an eternally bouncing universe. One of the problems, of course, is that each cycle has to get bigger. So, we've only, this cycle has only been around for a finite amount of time. So that's going to be the optimal cycle up to where we are now. Well, if you go backwards, you can't go backwards infinitely. You're going to have to go backwards to a particular point in finite time. So that's the first reason that the bouncing universe cannot be eternal. The second reason, it comes from dark energy itself. The universe itself is constituted by three major groups of what we might call mass energy. Visible matter, which is 5%, dark matter, which is 25% more or less, and then dark energy, which causes the universe to accelerate, which is 70% of the mass energy in the universe. Now, let me repeat that. Dark energy makes the universe accelerate in its expansion. That means that if dark energy, the preponderance of dark energy, were always part of the universe, then there is no possible way that the universe collapsed in upon itself in any past era. The only way you could get the universe to collapse in upon itself is to get rid of the dark energy, and then suddenly in our cycle, completely replace it like a deus ex machina, right? God comes into the world just to fool us, right? Mm-hmm. He takes out the dark energy, lets the universe collapse, puts it back in, fooled you. Now, if God's not playing games up there,
he's not a Jedi
dark
Knight,
energy
right?
Pretty much.
He's not a Jedi Knight showing up here with the Dark Lord or something. Right? Well, let me ask you a question, though, with that, too, to follow up on what you're saying, because we're getting near the end and there's so much we're going to be doing going forward. But one question, the average person might have, listening to all this higher theory and understanding, at least feeling confident there's answers to these things, is if it's made so complicated, why didn't God just do it, much simpler? Why do you think God needed to do it this way, or decided to do it this way? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, to be very frank with you, it seems, because I'm using these technical terms, right, it seems like the universe is very complicated. And no doubt there are complexities in it. But the most amazing thing about the universe itself is that it's remarkably simple in its underpinnings, right? 20 fundamental constants, the interaction through a series of very fundamental equations that bring together practically everything with an astonishing elegance, with an astonishing beauty, with an astonishing integrated intelligibility, in a kind of a remarkable simplicity. And you know, if you study these things and you look at it and you begin to say, you know, gosh, the hand of God is so simple. I mean, in certain areas of physics, you know the way we proceed? We proceed first by looking for the most elegant solution to our problems in particle physics or other kinds of areas of physics. We look for the most elegant solution first, then we build our experimental apparatuses to test for the more elegant solution, and more often than not, there it is. Now, are you telling me that that kind of elegance, that's mathematical elegance, aesthetic elegance, right? Are you telling me that that kind of elegance just happened to occur by pure chance? I don't believe it for a second. The universe is mathematical from its top to its bottom, but it's not just mathematical, it's elegantly mathematical. It's simple mathematical. It's you know, beautiful, you know, linear and non-linear progressions of simple beauty, elegant. And of course, all of that just comes together in this most remarkable way that just bespeaks not only intelligence, but it bespeaks an immense aesthetic capacity for beauty. And above all, it bespeaks love. That God did this for humankind. God did this to bring life, and not just life, but life to the fullest, and life with intelligence, and life that was going to support a spirit, a soul that comes from Him, a unique manifestation of self-consciousness and purpose that would come from Him, embedded in all of this elegant beauty, and that it would look back with a state of just, you know, stunned wonder, right? Like the psalmist says, right? You know, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. The universe is fearfully and wonderfully made. The heavens proclaim the glory of God. And look back upon this elegance, and look back upon this mathematical perfection, and look back upon all of these things and go, oh my gosh, we have been loved into existence by a mind so beyond
Thank you so much,
own,
Father
yet was
Spitzer.
able to make it simple for us.
You've got so much to say. That's why we've got an hour, but that's not enough. We're going to have another hour in January, and then in February, and then we'll do it weekly, and that'll give people a lot of opportunity to have all their questions answered here on the program. We want to make sure people know there's wonderful resources of you that are available from the EWTN Religious Catalog. It's New Proofs for the Existence of God, Finding True Happiness, Satisfying Our Restless Hearts, Healing the Culture, 10 Universal Principles, and also 5 Pillars of the Spiritual Life, a practical guide to prayer for active people. And I know there's new books on their way. You're always churning out more material, always thinking through these issues for all of us, Father Spitzer. And I want to thank you for joining us on this program. And happy Thanksgiving to you and our entire crew out there in Orange at Christ Cathedral, and also a blessed Christmas. And we'll get together again in January and do this again. And we'll look forward to people contacting us through Facebook and Twitter and letting us know what they think of the program and how we can make it better.
Same to you, Doug. God bless you all.
God bless you. Thank you so much. There we have it, Father Spitzer. We hope you enjoyed your time today in Father Spitzer's Universe. Join us next time right here on EWTN.